well.
Okay, there we
At
go.
least I'll have it from now.
Yes.
Which is important.
Exactly.
Okay.
It won't be such a
enjoy
big
everyone.
part. Thanks, Vanessa.
Okay, thank you. And Mark, enjoy your Kruger adventure.
Thank you.
And if you get eaten by a lion, and like you said, it is your karma. The question is, who is the lion?
Exactly.
But enjoy. We'll
Thanks,
keep
Vanessa.
in touch.
All right. Take
Cheers,
care.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so if it wasn't for Vanessa, I wouldn't be doing these classes. I wasn't really too keen to teach. We were teaching a lot last year, and we were doing live teaching at Ishta Yoga Studio. People didn't like to drive at night. We had a few people come, then one night 2 people, then one night 20 people, then another night 3 people. I mean, but every week it was like, oh my goodness, now we've got to drive in the dark to get there, and then it's 2 hours there, then an hour back, an hour there. You know, it's 4 hours. This is for me awesome. It's just like an hour or an hour and a little bit, and then you can carry on with your life. You know, so it's fine. I'm happy. Ishta wants us to start teaching there again, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but I'm not too sure. This is great. Please, at any time, just feel free to jump in. I want you guys to feel comfortable and familiar with each other, and hopefully we'll keep together so we can debate and we can argue, and whatever I say, I want you to question. Okay, that's what the Buddha said. He said, don't believe anything I teach. The Buddha said, don't believe because it's popular. Don't believe because it's in a big book that everybody worships. Don't believe it because your culture believes it. And don't believe it just because the whole, crowd just sort of goes along with it. Or your mom and dad said, this is how it is. Or your second grade teacher, Mrs. Melvin, said to you, that this is what it is. Don't believe it. Okay? Don't believe me. Ronelle?
Yeah, it's coincidental when you said don't believe me. That is not why I'm asking the question. I got better Wi-Fi now. I wanted to ask a question earlier. So and I was listening when you were saying because coincidentally most of the places I've been as then obviously from the Theravada school, but specifically with Sri Lanka. So was it? I think it was last year. I was in Sri Lanka, but most of the temples and maybe it's just because it's caretaking, because they got the big gold Buddhas in the mountains. There's a lot of I wouldn't say shrine-like, but there's a lot of these type in the mountains and so forth. So is it just that all of that is there because it was, and that's not how they live? It's just that they caretaking, because it's quite flamboyant if I say it that way, because there's all these beautiful mosaic tilings and like it's crazy. So is there a reason why specifically, because it was the south of Sri Lanka, that there was this much decoration, to put it that way?
Well, in the Buddhist traditions, there's a lot of ornate decoration. You'll find it in the Tibetans as well. I think the Taiwanese temple in Bronkhorstspruit is also, the amount of money that they've put into that temple is astounding. It's generally an Asian thing to be devotional. So devotees will put down a lot of money. The Western person doesn't quite get that. We donate and we give to charity, but we don't give on a level like that. So there's sort of a Buddhist idea that if you're very, very generous to materially, then you sort of you'll buy your little stand in nirvana. You'll and I think it's the same with most religions, but the Asians take it really, really to another level. Like their level of devotion for their guru, for their faith is phenomenal, especially what's called Pure Land Buddhism. which is part of Mahayana, and is what the Nanhua temple is all about. So the Nanhua people believe that there's another Buddha called Amitabha or Amitofo. Okay, Amitofo. And Amitofo, if you chant the name Amitofo, I mean, it's so sweet because they even greet each other by saying Amitofo, you know. So you basically, it's like saying Namaste. I see the light in you. So Amitofo means I see the light of the Buddha. I see Buddha Amitabha in you. Now, I could be wrong. Please correct me, ladies, if there's another meaning. But as far as I know, I greet the infinite wisdom light of Amitabha or Amitofo, same Buddha. And they believe that there's this Buddha that became enlightened and lives in his own paradise, like a heaven. And if you just chant his name, he'll come and fetch you at the time of death. So you don't need to worry too much about karma and study and meditation. You just chant Amitofo and he'll come and fetch you. But if you study Pure Land Buddhism, you'll come to an understanding that that's not so. It's a lot harder than that, but that's the general cultural belief. You know, it's the same as Christianity. Like, you can just carry on all your life. I'm talking about Catholicism. I was told, you know, you can be a complete idiot your whole life, steal from people, but you can lie on your deathbed and say, Jesus, forgive me, and Jesus will forgive you, and you'll go to heaven. Poof, you know. Shit, I wish it was that easy. I don't believe it. When I studied Pure Land Buddhism intensely, they said, yes, it's true, you can, but the level of devotion in your heart must be all-consuming and imbued with the mantra. Your focus must be 100% on Amitofo. There must be, what is the word? Absorption within the mantra. Now, we can't absorb into anything. You know, we can't even watch a good movie without checking our phone. So the level of attention and focus on Amitabha at the time of your death, you know, I've done a similar practice called Poa, which is where you got to project your consciousness out of your crown. And I attended a 3-week initiation in India for that. And my guru, after that, I had another teacher, and he said, that's ridiculous. He said, do you really think you're going to be able to shoot off your consciousness out of your crown as you are dying? He said, death is terrible. He said, you get flu and you can't even think. Imagine what it's like to die and then have this focused meditation practice. He said, forget about it. Now, it doesn't mean it's not possible, but I do believe that sort of devotion and that, you know, you being reborn, and they say you're born in a lotus flower, and you're in the petals of this flower, as not as a baby, but as a complete person, and you can hear this incredible music and the teachings of Amitofo, and then slowly, as your karma gets better, the petals open, and you're in paradise, the most beautiful place, and all that Amitabha does is teach you, and it's wonderful, and but you're still not enlightened. So this would be a form of nirvana. Now, this is where the difference comes in. Sorry, it's very technical now. But anyway, it is what it is. It's actually a lot worse with the Tibetan tradition. I really have to try and not talk too much. I'm trying to make it accessible. Let's put it that way. But I know you're already smart. So all of these traditions are within Mahayana. And the Dalai Lama is in Mahayana. Now, as John said, Mahayana is all about service. And service as in they're happy to teach. I took a vow. If you ask me to teach, I have to teach. I can't say no. I'm not allowed. And it suits me because I'm a business person. I'm a family man. I like to be married. I like to have a partner. I like to have a child. And this is my life. I tried to become a monk for 3 years in a temple, and it wasn't right for me. You know, I joined the temple. I had a girlfriend, and then she left me for my boss. And at that time, I had the really good opportunity to become a full-on monk. But then I thought to myself, but what good I am? I'll just sit in my room all day. I won't see anyone. Maybe that's cool, but that's not me. So that the Hinayana tradition didn't suit me. I didn't want to be cut off from the whole world. I didn't want to have a path that's isolated from as many people as I could meet. I wanted to meet lots of people. I wanted to hug people. I wanted to cry with people. I wanted to laugh with people, you know. And then the Tibetans, I met the Tibetans in India because I left Bodh Gaya and I went to Dharamsala, and the friendliest monks, you know, you can have lunch with them, you can laugh with them. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit inappropriate because they're still men, and if you hanging around with a pretty girl, they'll still try to get close to her. It doesn't mean they're perfect by any means, but the teachers that are realized, they have just such unbelievable love and absolute care for you. Now, this is not to say that the Hinayana or Theravada monks don't. They also have tremendous love for you and for everyone. But they just think, look, I'm the blind. How can I lead the blind, you know? Whereas the Mahayana people say, well, look, we're all blind, but let's just try and get the hell out together. So, and there's also the Theravada or the Hinayana monks will say, you know, the ego is also very dangerous. And that if we teach and we try to develop disciples or students, then it's also a very dangerous thing. Whereas the Mahayanas are more open to building communities. And there are problems. Wherever there are people and wherever there are communities, there are problems. And there are teachers that abuse that power. That's true. And I think we can see that in any tradition. But I find with the Hinayana Buddhists, there's less of that, because you know you're not really pulling a lot of lay people together. You might move up to become an abbot of your monastery or something like that, but the ego is very much in check, and the idea of no self is very strong within the Hinayana tradition. So Mahayana really, Ronel? Okay.
I did break for a little bit, so you may have mentioned what I want to ask, because I think you were saying specifically now, because obviously you were studying with Indian monks, and then obviously you met the Tibetan monks. So I've also heard, and obviously you've got the experience, that they say the Tibetan monks has more humor,
yes,
whereas Indian side it's very academic and
yeah,
yeah,
very
okay,
quite grey. No, very little emotion. But that's general. You might meet a Hinayana or Theravada person and they might be colorful, but the Tibetans are very colorful. The Mahayana tradition is generally quite warm and friendly and funny. I mean, the Dalai Lama laughs his head off. You know, him and Bishop Tutu, when they get together, they pull each other's noses and pinch each other on the cheek, and you know, it's very sweet. And they're not scared to give you a big hug and make you feel amazing. When I eventually got to, when I left my teacher from the train, the Indian teacher, and I went I took refuge with him sitting under the Bodhi tree one night. I became Buddhist. And then I went to Dharamsala. There was a month of there being taught by the Dalai Lama. And then I went to Kathmandu. And there I met my teacher who put me on another path, which is the Vajrayana. And my teacher, when I walked in and I saw him for the first time, this Tibetan monk, he looked at me and he said, "It's good to see you again." And that was weird because I never saw him in my life before. But anyway, that's another big, interesting story that I'll tell you one day. I'm not going to bore you too much. But it's a nice story how I got there. It was very cool. I even got attacked by an eagle on the way. But that's another story. No, there was some weird stuff that was happening, really strange. But let's move on to the next level up, which I'd like to say is up. Although maybe if you're a Hinayana practitioner, you might say it's down, depending on which way you look at it. Then there's something called the Vajrayana. Do you guys have to go? I mean, am I running over time here? If you do, we are recording. We can go on for another few minutes. You happy to carry on? I just want to get through the schools. So, as long as we can just get through that, then we can think about what we're going to do next week. Any questions up to now? Okay. Jordan, I can see you bursting with questions. Jordan was always asking me questions at Living Yoga. And gosh, they were good questions too. I was like sweating when I heard Jordan was coming, I started sweating here. You can see I'm glowing. Smart man. Anyway, as I say, you're all very smart. So then there's the different vehicle called the Vajrayana. Vajra means diamond, or it's got two translations. The one is diamond and the other is lightning bolt. Lightning. We normally refer to a diamond, and yana means vehicle. So you got Hinayana, you got Mahayana, and you have Vajrayana. Now, a lot of the Tibetans, actually most of the Tibetans are Vajrayana. They will say that they are Mahayana. But actually, if you really study Tibetan Buddhism, which is what I teach, then you are on the Vajrayana path. And this is a hectic path. It's they call it the lightning path because they say it's the quickest way to enlightenment. But it's also the most dangerous. And it involves yoga. So it was quite interesting for me when I met my wife. She was a yoga teacher, and we got together. And I was teaching her meditation, and she was teaching me yoga. She also teaches for Living Yoga every now and then. But she was involved with Living Yoga when it first opened. She did I think it was the first teacher training with Cheryl. Anyway, I wasn't so into yoga. I thought it was for girls, and it was just stretching. Then my teacher was in a 3-year retreat in the Arizona desert back in 2002. And word came out of retreat that we must all start doing yoga. And I was like, holy crap, I didn't know this was Buddhism. I didn't think I thought it was like Ganesh and chanting, Om Namah Shivaya, and like, why are we doing yoga? I don't know any Buddhists that do yoga. But the Vajrayana, they call it the secret path, or the Tantra Yana. Sometimes it's called the Mantra Yana, or Tantra. You know the word Tantra. Now, when I say the word Tantra, everyone starts blushing. They think it's sexy. There's an element of that, but it's not. It's very small part of it. And that path is really only for a very, very small number of practitioners. So the tantric path involves yoga. It is working with the body's energies, the chakras, the nadis, the prana, visualization, deities, imagining that you yourself are an enlightened being. Okay, so the Mahayanas would not teach you this, and the Hinayanas would not teach you this. And even me, by saying what I'm saying, they will frown upon me. They'll say, where are you going? But this is what the Dalai Lama teaches. And it's secret. It's passed on from teacher to student in the form of an initiation. And the Vajrayana is full of beautiful and wild initiations into the tantric path. It's extremely colorful. If you're a creative person and you like imagery and color, the Tibetan approach is incredible. But not just the Tibetan approach. There's also Vajrayana in Japan. I think also in Taiwan. It's there. It's always been in the Indian systems as well. It comes from India. It comes from the Indian yogis. So the question is, did the Buddha teach all of these things? And this is the big debate. Because if you go to a teaching and you hear a teacher, some of you will understand one thing, and some of you might understand something else. So a lot of people came away from listening to the Buddha and say, we heard this. And they say, well, we heard that. And a lot of what they said they heard was contradictory. And to make matters worse, the Buddha contradicted himself as well, on purpose. He did it on purpose because he knew that there were different levels of student, and that some students would get this but not get that. So the traditions broke away, and even though we say I'm Vajrayana or I'm Mahayana, I cannot be Mahayana without Hinayana. Hinayana is the foundation for Mahayana. So you can't walk around with a t-shirt that says, I'm definitely not a Hinayana, you know? That would be stupid. We saw a guy like that in India, and we were like, that is so dumbass. Because it's the foundation. The Vinaya is really the set of vows that every monastic takes, which is Hinayana. No Mahayana or Vajrayana monastic, you can't be unless you've taken the Hinayana vows. So Hinayana is a foundation. And then from there, after one has been on a path of ethics and morality and discipline, can one truly understand Mahayana and truly enter the path of the Diamond Way. But if you're not disciplined and you're not studied, you will never enter the Diamond Way. I mean, for example, I've studied for many, many years, and my teacher now is only welcoming me into the tantric path, even though I've had initiations and I've studied it. But it's taken me 6-7 years of intense study in a particular lineage to finally be welcomed to study further as to the diamond path. So I'm not going to teach you the diamond way, although I am, because I can give you a lot of meditations that are open and that are not secret. And we can discuss the diamond way if that's what you're interested in. But let me tell you this. You are already diamond way practitioners because you are yogis. And if you practice yoga or pranayama, you are working on your subtle body, which is or means that your karma probably resonates more with Vajrayana than it does with Hinayana. And when I talk about Vajrayana, I cannot separate it from Mahayana. The two are inseparable. But you can only really get into Vajrayana when you start to open up to that with a teacher. And we've only just got word that we can do this online, whereas before it would never, ever have been appropriate. So I think we've discussed the schools, and maybe that's it for tonight. You can just try to remember the 3 different schools, and you can think about it for yourself. Which one resonates more with you? Because I don't think it's good to say one is better than the other. I think it's just something that makes more sense to you. And you can attend these classes without being a Vajrayana person or a Mahayana person, because everything that I'm going to teach, I will try and give you the approach from the different schools, because the different schools all generally believe in the same thing. It starts to get slightly different when they speak of what a Buddha is or what enlightenment is. Okay. We can have a question session if you want.
Mark, would you mind on the group, especially for myself, quite new to this space, would you mind on the group dropping books you suggest, blogs, videos, any other online or offline resources we can tap into or research or find that we can, I'm asking particularly on myself, but I'm sure everyone else, just to consume in between classes?
I'll try.
Yeah. Share what you can.
Yeah. I want to let you know, Sean, that it's there's a lot that that is out there that is not complete. There's a lot that's just not quite correct. I feel the same about yoga, I feel Living Yoga is an amazing studio, and they are so authentic, and they're coming from a lineage. But there's a lot of yoga studios that are not, and that are not teaching according to what Living Yoga is doing. So, yeah, I can try, and I will, to try and feed you with what I can in between. So it's, I'll see what I can do. But in terms of like videos and stuff that's out there, no, there's not that much. But I'd like to send you like little Richard Gere videos and Keanu Reeves videos and things like, you can watch them talking about it. Maybe there's some great organizations. There's another organization called the FPMT, which is Federation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. My lineage is called the Asian Classics Institute. My teacher is Geshe Michael. I can send you a lot of audio from there. But again, it's very difficult because they haven't made it easy for people that are entering the path for the first time. I cannot find, it blows my mind. I mean, there are great books, and maybe I can suggest a few. Number one, I think the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying by Sogyal Rinpoche. That was a classic for me. Books by Lama Surya Das. I can just put it here. Very good. Lama Surya Das, he's a Jewish guy that became a Tibetan monk. You see, the thing with it is you can have a Tibetan or an Asian teacher, but they don't understand the cultural difference is quite different. And the way that I'm teaching would be remarkably different to someone from Fogang order, you know. So I'm teaching from a very Western framework, but I'm trying to South Africanize it, whatever that is. So there's nothing really in that sort of space. But if there is, and there's something that resonates, I will make sure to share that with you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else there? Ronel?
Sorry, sir, I've got a few from Lamdim, like little introduction booklets. It's very short, so I can like PDF if that is fine. I can PDF that and send it if that you think if that will be applicable or
very applicable.
Okay.
But we will go through all of that information firsthand. I've got something that I can send.
Okay.
I've got something which is very reliable. I can send you this. Sorry, there's a big light on it. It's the Lamrim outline. I'm going to be teaching a lot from this.
Okay.
So basically, it's from FPMT. But please send what you've got from the Lamrim Buddhist Center. Lamrim is a Tibetan word which means the gradual steps to enlightenment. That's what it means. So there's a Lamrim Buddhist Center, and there's also the Lamrim Path. I'm going to try my best to introduce the Lamrim Path, which was really compiled by an incredible teacher, a Tibetan teacher in the 1300s. His name is Lama Tsongkhapa. And they say Lama Tsongkhapa was like the Shakespeare of Tibet, but he was more than that. He was also enlightened, and he had an incredible ability to take the Buddha's teachings and rearrange them and put them in an order that was unchallenged. When he actually had a trip. He went into a cave for about a month. He didn't eat. He had like a wild vision. He apparently met a Buddhist angel called Maitreya, and Maitreya basically told him how to do it. And he went into a trance and he just wrote. So when he came out of the cave, people said, "Oh my God, what is this work? Like, how did you do this? This is profound." And he said, "No, I didn't do it. I was just dictating. Maitreya was helping me." So who's Maitreya? You know, they say Maitreya is the next Buddha that's coming. But at the moment, Maitreya is hanging out in Tushita paradise, which is like another heavenly realm. So there's like these different levels of heaven, you know, and Maitreya is just waiting for the right time to come to earth. But Maitreya is already starting to communicate, and has been over thousands of years. Maitreya has been there for a long time. So they say the next coming Buddha is Maitreya. But Maitreya has already started to communicate with us. And the Lamrim is coming from Maitreya Buddha. It's hard to get out of here. So I think next week we're going to discuss why it's important to get out of here. Because we might think, well, here's not so bad. You know, why should I get out of here? Well, where am I going to go? Like Holland, London? Okay, what does that mean? Get out of here. Don't know. Okay, so maybe next week we can start to explore why the yogis and the enlightened beings are encouraging us to do something that our society isn't really talking about. Okay, I'm going to do a closing prayer. It's a dedication. Basically, whenever we do something really awesome, we generate a lot of good energy or good karma. So, you know, we believe that by you studying Buddhism, you are building enormous good karma just by hearing about it and thinking about it. So think about in your mind, you've generated a lot of incredible energy. Where would you like to send that energy to? An aspect of your life that you'd like to see fixed or healed, or you'd like to see something come right. So we're going to do a dedication of taking that karma and sending it somewhere. All right. Good. I'm going to just sing this little chant and then we're done. Gewa di kewo kun sunam yeshe zozo shin sunam yeshe le junwe tampa kunia topa sho. Thank you. I dedicate my good karma to you guys so that you can have a really happy week. And hopefully I see you again next Monday. So every Monday at 4:30. And there's no charge. It's free. And if you want to bring a friend, that's okay. I don't mind. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Cool,
Take
thanks,
care.
Mark. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Cheers, bye everyone.
Namaste.
Okay.
Namaste.
Thanks, Mark.
Namaste.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.